Greetings once again to all my fellow watch enthusiasts on YouTube and Facebook and wherever else this video is being seen and shared. It's the Lean Driver once again. Got another unboxing for you, another review. This one is a little bit special, has a bit of a backstory for me. I'll get to that in a second, but as you can see from the box, there's that famous crown logo that can only mean one thing to watch enthusiasts across the world, and that is Rolex. And this Rolex happens to be mine. This is actually my watch. This is not a watch that I was loaned or I borrowed. This watch is mine. It came to me in a bit of a strange way, but I'll get to that in a minute as soon as we open her up and take a look. Outer box is, typical newer Rolex cardboard. Very nice and thick cardboard, but cardboard. Nothing terribly exciting about it. Got the modern-ish green Rolex box. Very nicely done. It's in great shape. And inside of it we have, ta-da! We have a GMT. We also have, up in here, we have the instruction book for a GMT Master. But we won't worry about that right now. I'll get the hang tag out of the way. Actually, just leave it there. We'll move the bezel. I'll get to that in a minute. And take out the watch. We have a GMT Master. And you can see it is sporting the Coke bezel, which is somewhat atypical out there. Most everybody has the Pepsi bezel. Actually, this watch had the Pepsi bezel as well, but we changed it over to the Coke bezel. And there's a reason for that, but I'll get to that in a second. Take this off. The hang tag down there. This little padding goes back there. Just keep it all together so I don't lose track of parts. And what we have here is a authentic, and I have had this authenticated, so I know it's authentic, Rolex Oyster Perpetual GMT Master in sporting the Coke bezel. Hang on a minute. There. Lovely watch. Now, this watch originally started out, as I said, as a Pepsi. This is the bezel that it was born with, or at least the bezel that came on the watch. That was purchased many years ago by my father. And he wore it for quite a while. And then the watch gave him some trouble, and so it sat for a while. And then he picked up the Coke bezel with the idea being that he had purchased another Rolex GMT Master with a Pepsi bezel, and different type, and wanted to put the Coke bezel on this one and get it going again, but he's kind of a busy guy, didn't really have time to deal with that, so he turned the watch over to me with the idea that I would take care of it because I had a bit more time on my hands. So I took the watch, I took the bezel, and I took it to a local watchmaker that my father and I work with, who is trained to work on Rolexes. and we told him what we wanted to do. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and service the watch because it's not working anymore. It just turned out it needed good cleaning, and nothing really wrong with it. And so the bezel was put on, the insert was put on, bezel was put on. Found out that the previous owner, before my father, had put on, for some bizarre reason, a non-Rolex crystal. So that was fixed. It was serviced, oiled, resealed, fired up, timed, and now it has been working perfectly for several years. When it was all said and done, my father said, why don't you hang on to that watch for a while and have fun with it? So I guess you could say the watch became mine after I had it serviced. So I paid for the servicing and I paid for all that. So I guess I bought the watch from him. I don't know. All I know is I have a Rolex GMT with a Coke bezel, and my father has one with a Pepsi bezel. So there you go. Beautiful watch. I can see, when I first got the watch, I was relatively new to the watch collecting, and my collection hadn't grown very much to where it is now. And don't worry, there'll be a state of the collection series of videos coming up soon. So I didn't fully appreciate the way I do now exactly what Rolex is. I mean, I knew what Rolex was, but I didn't fully appreciate all that a Rolex is until I began to collect watches and had something to compare this to. And it is a beautiful watch. It is just everything about it exudes classiness, and obviously well worth the price of admission that people pay for it. It is an older style of Rolex, so you can see it. This is a stamped steel clasp, not quite as heavy duty as the more modern stuff and the other stuff that I've shown on this channel. But the bracelet is solid. Drilled lugs makes it very easy to get the bracelet off, which is what I did to authenticate the watch to make sure I was dealing with a real Rolex, because unfortunately when my dad bought it, it didn't come with a warranty card. But I did authenticate the serial number. It is a real Rolex. So, rambling on about all that, the backstory, I do have my sheet of handwritten stats. This is a Rolex GMT Master, originally a Pepsi, now sporting a Coke bezel. It is a Rolex Coke bezel. I did authenticate that as well. Its model number is 16700. The serial number is a T series. And of course, I'm not going to give the serial number. I'm not stupid. That translates to a 1996 era Rolex. It is a steel case, highly polished, and you can see it is in excellent condition considering it is, 23 years old? This thing is older than my oldest daughter. Jeez, just thought of that. Steel case, steel bracelet, solid links, stamped deploy clasp. Let's see. It is a 40 millimeter diameter case. 20 millimeter lug. It is 100 meter water resistance. Uses the Rolex caliber 3175 movement, 31 jewel. Sapphire crystal, mostly flat, except of course for the Cyclops. And well, that's basically it. Beautiful Mercedes hands. Love the little, I guess we call that the lollipop second hand. Date complication, of course, at the 3 o'clock. I personally like the Cyclops, and with my eyesight as it is, I find it very beneficial. We have the I don't know. We can't really call that a coin edge bezel. I don't know what the term is for it. Um, it is a bidirectional bezel. It does have a bit of a click to it. I don't know if you can hear it or not. Maybe I can move it over here. No, probably not. Anyway, it does have a bit of a click to it. It does lock in fairly well when you start moving the GMT bezel around. So very smooth. Locks in very nicely. It is a hackable movement with a screw down crown, of course. You can see, pull it out twice, it hacks. Pull it out once. You can change the date by rotating it that way. That's the 23rd. There you go. And rotating it the opposite way does nothing. Okay, well, it does nothing. Anyway, GMT hand, as you can see, is right there, just above the minute hand. So, sometimes this thing fights you on engaging those threads. Anyway, let's put her on, take a look how she wears. And she wears very nicely on my wrist. Of course, I sized it for my wrist. Wears just right, just falls. The lug tips fall very nicely on my wrist, and fits well for me. 40 is maybe a tad smaller than I usually wear, but not too bad. I mean, I usually don't go below 40 unless it's one of my Accutrons or something like that. So this is right there for me where I like it. Has micro adjustments. You can see, move that. You can see that I've got it set on micro adjustment number 2. It uses the old style pin type. It does not have a dive extension on it. This is obviously not meant to be a dive watch, but with 100-meter water resistance, you could get away with maybe snorkeling with it or something. The bezel doesn't really lend itself to being a dive bezel, but then again, it's a GMT, and it wasn't meant to be a dive watch. Now, I don't know. People have their preferences on Pepsi versus Coke bezel. I like the Pepsi bezel. I do. I don't like Pepsi myself. I was always been a Coke drinker. And my dad, as I said, has this watch. I think it's a newer model with a Pepsi bezel, and he also has a Tudor with a Pepsi bezel. And he actually likes a Tudor better, but that's a whole nother subject. And I like the way his watch looks, but I like the fact that this one is different. I mean, for every 10 Pepsis you see out there, you probably only see one Coke. So, not everyone sees that, and I like having sort of the quote unquote uniqueness of having the Coke bezel on the watch. And it's a handsome piece. It really is. The polish is in great shape. There are no scratches or dings on it. Nothing I consider major. It's a 23-year-old watch at the time I make this video, and it looks fantastic. It's a beautiful watch, and I'm very grateful that my dad allows me to play with it. Of course, I always tell him, if he ever wants the thing back, I can just resize it for him and he can have it back. And he just laughs. So I'm not going to call it my watch, but I take care of it. So there you go. Anyway, going to leave the video there. I hope you enjoyed this look into this watch. It really is a great thing. I'm going to wear this watch today just because I enjoyed making this video so much. This is going to be the watch of the day for me. So, if you like the video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. It always helps. Comments, questions, suggestions down there. I read everyone. I answer everyone. All I ask is that you keep it clean and keep the insults to a minimum. And if you have not already subscribed, please click that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you're alerted to when I make new videos. I'm creeping up on 500 subscribers at the time I'm making this, so I appreciate that. I love watching the channel grow, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. See you again in the next video.